1998, that was when, my eyes were opened up to the severity of the situation, not just in my community, but within our whole world, and that really set me on a new path once I had my conversion.
Okay.
Sorry?
No, I just said, okay, I'm just listening.
Yeah. And so, back in 1998, my eyes were opened to a very serious truth of what our world is now facing. Most people are asleep to the seriousness of the threat that we face. And even when we point out the seriousness of the threat, it's still hard for them to grasp the severity because they live in peace and comfort at the minute, But look at the people in New York on 9/11, they were woken up that day. And I expect many people in that area of Manhattan are awake now to the threat and the fear of another attack coming. 1998 was when I really woke up to the realization and the revelation of what's happening. And I actually went into the church in 1999, said to the pastor of the church, I wasn't brought up a Christian, didn't know anything about Christ, about God, knew nothing. I was godless. None of my family are Christian, immediate family anyway. And once I had my conversion, I went into the church and I said to the pastor, I said, look, we've got to start preparing for war. And they're like, what? What's this going on about? They just, took it as if I was like crazy, And so it was rejected. My message was rejected in 1999. Then look at what happened in 2001. September 11th happened. Look at what happened in 2005. 7/7 happened. These aren't just small isolated incidents. These are actual orchestrated terrorist attacks in a planned war against our civilization. When I went into the church in 1998, saying, look, this is what's coming. Now look at what our world is now facing. To me, with my blog, is just a continuation of me trying to get the message out to other people to see the severity of the situation we face. But also, coming back to that point of going into the church in 1999, I said, look, war is coming. It was rejected, and it was looked on as if, what's this guy saying? But at the end of the day, look, my community, right next door to Luton, in Luton, the Pakistani Muslim community of Luton declared war on Great Britain in 2005 on 7/7. That's in the community right next door to my community. What more proof do people need to see the severity of the situation that we now face in Great Britain and in the Western world? Look at in Israel yesterday. Israel's got its own problems with, it's a complete different situation there. Same as with America. We're all tussling with the Islamic world now,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's quite, it's just amazing to me. I mean, no one probably cared a whit about Islam before 2000, when was it? 9/11, 2001, when the Muslims hit New York and Washington and so forth. It's interesting that there were some people that were sounding the alarm even back in, I look back to 1993 with the first World Trade Center bombing, and you had people like Stephen Emerson, who wrote a book, Jihad in America. He had a video out, Islamic Jihad, and in this video, even at that time, 7-8 years before, he was warning people. Apparently no one was listening. The authorities weren't listening. They were like asleep and didn't realize they weren't taking literally the threat that the Muslims were saying in plain English, that they were going to wage a jihad, they were going to impose Islam and Sharia law and so forth. So do you feel, Lionheart, that as a Christian, that it kind of brought it more like the urgency in your spirit to get this word out, and like you mentioned that after your acceptance of Christ and coming to Christ, being converted to Him, that you went to a church and you tried to tell the pastor in straight language that war is coming?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, it's it's just baffling to me. What like I was saying earlier is that it's maddening to me, the situation that Islam could easily be defeated militarily. Economically, it might be a little bit more difficult as they gain strength more and more with their petrodollars and buying up so much influence in the West, whether it's economically, politically, in our educational system and so forth. But it's maddening to me that our governments are not protecting us. It's maddening to me that many bloggers, many people, even like yourself, Lionheart, using a pseudonym, myself, I also use a pseudonym. What are we doing? Why are we having to do this in our own countries? What have our governments done to us to allow the enemy within the chicken coop, so to speak, the fox within the hen house? What are we going to do about it? What can we do about it? It's so maddening.
Yeah. They've created the damage, and the damage is so bad, and they haven't got an answer to fix the problem. So they're viewing two faces of Islam. They're viewing the extreme side, the military side that wants to take over our civilization, and they're viewing then the moderate side. They're trying to negotiate with the moderate side of Islam, but the moderate side of Islam is just another face of the same coin,
I agree with that.
Different branch of the same tree, with Muhammad and the Quran as the root, and they work in tandem. The same as part of the body. We've got two legs and two arms. They both have different functions, but they go to the function of the one body. And Islam, the global community of Muslims, is called the Ummah. Whether they're living in America, Britain, or Saudi Arabia, there's no borders because they are a global family, which they call the Ummah. They all play the same part to the fulfilling of the ideology and driving force behind Islam, which is the global domination of the world, to take the world over and enforce Islamic rule upon it, because they believe that the earth is Allah's, so they have to, by all means necessary, convert the whole earth into Islamic rule. Our world is now entering into just another phase of a very long war, a very old war, which was founded in the 7th century when Islam was birthed upon the world.
Lionheart, from a Christian perspective, from a biblical perspective, now I know many of our listeners here today may not be born-again Christians, but do you see any link or any connection between this rise of Islam and Bible prophecy, especially as it pertains to the nation of Israel?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Obviously, Israel becoming a nation is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. It was prophesied that in the end times, Israel would become a nation again. That happened after the Second World War. So Israel becoming a nation again is end fulfillment of end-time biblical prophecy. Being surrounded by Islamic armies that want to destroy Israel at all costs and will fight eternally for that to happen is, another part of end-time prophecy, being surrounded by her enemies. What's happening in our world, it's nothing. It can be nothing less than the end times, because this is a war now to the end. When our forefathers fought against Hitler and the Nazis during the Second World War, it was a war to the end until someone won. Thankfully, we won that war, and Hitler was defeated, and we then started the new world that we've been living in ever since, that our forefathers helped build and hand to us as their descendants. We are now in another global war to the end. But the thing is, we're now fighting in a nuclear age. It's a known fact that Osama bin Laden has nuclear capabilities. America, Britain, a lot of the nations of the earth now have nuclear capabilities. We have the power to wipe mankind from the face of the earth. So we are in a war to the end. But the war we now face is against a religion, you know, and it's not that we've declared it against the religion. Islam has declared it against us